Private cars, trucks, SUVs, are you listening, man? Let Eastern Motors put you in a car today. Let Eastern Motors finance it all the
way. Var Harrington, man. Welcome to the Crosse Commission, Friday Night Watchalong. I'm Ryan.
I'm Jake.
That's Jake. And got 3 TV games on tonight, and this also gives us an excuse to slide through our Stanley Cup preview that you guys have accustomed to seeing us do because we love to always we're a hockey podcast masquerading as a lacrosse podcast. So we do our Stanley Cup preview.
I love the energy.
Yes.
Man. Indeed.
So
to answer Mark's question, no, we did one. That was the funniest one we've done. Because me and Safe asked me like in the first 10 minutes, so you think Duke's one of the best teams ever? And then they promptly lost like 10-3. So
that is the score right now. Yeah, so 2 games live right now. Penn State's up 10-3. It was a very un-Big Ten-like first quarter, so of course the third quarter was scoreless. So back to being on brand for the Big Ten. And Navy and Loyola in an I-97 derby is tied 5-5.
Loyola just took the lead.
Okay, so you're a little bit ahead of me on CBS Sports Network.
So, yeah, nice wrap around there. Loyola scored like 4 goals, I want to say, in the last couple minutes of this first quarter.
Yeah, when we started setting things up, it was 5-2 Navy.
Yeah, it was
they just
4.
scored now.
Navy's up by 3. Yeah, 4-1, 5-2. So Loyola scored 4 in a row. Having success dodging on the midshipmen. Yeah, Loyola's got to win tonight, or that's it, because they need to get 3 wins in order to get into the Patriot League quarterfinals. So pretty big. Navy, I think, is playing for a gosh dang. Wow, we're humming already. 12 goals in the quarter. My goodness.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it now. 9-8-7-6.
All right, so I'm like,
all
right, I'll make sure just for that, since I'm like, 15, 20 seconds ahead of you?
Yeah, usually I watch games on TV, but tonight I got them on the internet, so I'm the one with the delay right now. Rutgers just scored to make it 10-4. So that's his point of reference on BTN. Yeah, and of course we got Maryland Hopkins at the top of the hour. You know, on my Acela train yesterday, I was thinking about this as I was going through Maryland.
Yes.
Johns Hopkins, Maryland, the only real big, technically DC versus Baltimore rivalry. Because Commanders and Ravens are really it's kind of like Jets Giants. It's just for hard-blowing football fans to pretend there's a rivalry when they play once every 4 years. And Commanders, Colts never had the juice back in the day, even when they were both in the original NFL. You never really heard of anything with that. Orioles Nationals is really just the biggest point of contention in that rivalry is the Nationals with Masson.
Yeah, a lot of Nationals fans used to be Orioles fans. I would just say I just don't think. To go with this, College Park isn't DC.
Quasi DC. I mean,
it's.
I mean, the Commanders are in Landover. It's like about the same distance.
Thankfully, it looks like they're moving back to DC.
I see.
All right, College Park.
Yeah, it's not really DC, but it's like the closest thing you're going to get to it.
I mean, American University, I guess. George Washington. Is George Washington DC?
Yeah, George Washington and Georgetown are within DC. So
Georgetown's DC.
Georgetown CC. As I learned last week, though, George Washington's closer to the downtown area than Georgetown.
That makes sense.
But you know what you know what I'm getting at. Like, it's the only in terms of sports rivalries. I know it's not DC. They're in Maryland, and they're Maryland's university, but it's as close as you're going to get to a Baltimore-Washington sports rivalry.
All right, it's half an hour from College Park to the U.S. Capitol building. It is about an hour from College Park to Homewood. So, all right, College Park is closer to DC than it is. It's not quite equidistant. College Park definitely more. But no, I mean, I will say I think it's the Quint always puts it this way. There's Orioles home opener. There's the Preakness. And then I think Hopkins, Maryland is probably maybe it's not quite what it used to be, just in sense of. And I mean, me and Safe kind of talked about this on Wednesday on our podcast. Just how lacrosse is not quite as ubiquitous. Georgetown Loyola.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Georgetown Loyola.
But like if you look at some of these old attendance figures for Hopkins Maryland games, this was tweeted out by at Jason Yellen. I retweeted it. He's the Maryland, I think, sports information director. Like you've got some of these old attendance figures are crazy. 17,500 May 12, 1973. 17,228. That was the final. But 15,000 April 28th, 1979. Had like a 7-game streak in a row, all over 10,000+. 19,850 April 18th, 1987 in College Park. 16,759 April 22nd, 1989 College Park. Lots of big crowds at Homewood as well. The last year main safer there was 10,458 at Homewood, sold out. 14,500 in 2017 for Rambo's senior night. We broke shout out Bob Boniello's points record. So it's not quite what it maybe was in terms of.
It's still very, very solid.
Yes, so I would say.
Yeah, I think too the Ravens coming in. You probably bump the Steelers Ravens game at M&T Bank to.
I still think it's a top 5 sporting event.
Still top 5 in Maryland. Yeah,
in terms of sporting events in the state of Maryland, I think it's in the top 5. I think it's hugely important still to a lot of people. It garners attention and coverage that certainly no other lacrosse game in the state does. And we'll hit a pipe. So, and it just the history of it. This is the 100th. I think Maryland's 100th season. They released some throwback jerseys on their NIL website, or whatever it might be, or the team store website. I don't know if they're wearing them tonight. I hope they do. They're kind of cool. It was like the porthole mesh red with Maryland across the, just Maryland across the top. It'd be a pretty cool jersey if they wore them, but I don't think they're wearing anything like that. So yeah, it's a special game. And rivalry, certainly, and especially to the state.
Yeah,
and when it's played,
very big.
Go ahead.
Yeah, very big Maryland rivalry night. You also got Navy Loyola going on.
Navy Hopkins was another one that I think has unfortunately. Yeah. Navy Hopkins in Annapolis, especially, used to be a huge deal. I remember if you go back, I think it's still on YouTube. The 2004 Navy Hopkins game, that was the year Navy got to the Final Four championship game, actually, against Cuse. That game was played in Annapolis. I don't know if it was 1 versus 2, but both teams were super high ranked. Hopkins might have been number 1. And you see the fans, that's back when Navy kind of had the fence sort of, and the students would sit behind it, and they were up near the fence. Kyle Harrison scored, I believe, the game-winning goal for Hopkins. They made like a comeback. It's a crazy scene. And that was a big one that used to really. It's just just the nature of the way things have changed with scheduling, and I talked about this a bit on the podcast with how the Big Ten schedules now with all of the games towards the end of the year. You get like 6-7 Big Ten games in a row in the season. It's pushed a lot of Hopkins, particularly rivalries. Like I know it's always a point of consternation on the Hopkins, fan live sport or stuff like that. The attendance is down. It's like, well, attendance is down everywhere.
But I mean, you make a good point. Navy's now a February game all the time. Loyola is now a February game all the time. The Cuse game's still where it usually is around St. Patrick's Day, but the rest is now all these games that used to be April games and good weather and everything are now being played in the cold in February.
Yeah, like this is how Hopkins used to end their season. They played Maryland early April. They would sometimes, I think, Navy would follow it, and then Loyola ended the season. And the Hopkins Loyola game was huge when it was in great weather in April. I even feel like Hopkins Cuse is earlier than it used to.
It's like a week earlier than it used to be.
2013 was the last time it was played. That was pre both teams. Well, 2015 is pre Hopkins joining a conference. So 2014 it was played March. It was played March 15th. I remember 2011 being a big crowd for that one. That was played March 19th, a little later. 2012, I think, as well. It's played March 17th. So it's kind of where it used to be. But here's what I'll say, though, is that I think before it was like the first big game of the season for both teams. Because before, teams usually started around late February, early March. So Hopkins Cuse was like the first big game.
Not for Cuse. Cuse always played Virginia.
That's fair. Yeah.
That, yeah.
Yeah, but it was it's outdoors. I mean, when it was played at home, it was outdoors, obviously. So, and I mean, Hopkins had big ones too. They had Hopkins had the Princeton game for many years. So I think that's the difference as opposed to now these teams have like 7-8 games before they've played one another. I think that's a factor. And look, it's things in general. Before, if you wanted to know the score of the Hopkins game, you had to be there in person or wait till the Baltimore Sun dropped the paper off the next morning.
Yeah, or in the 2000s, you're refreshing the inside LACROSSE front page every 5 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think IL didn't have the scoreboard until what, 2013?
2005 or something. They didn't have the full page scoreboard one. They just had like the list that you had to scroll down on the front page.
Yeah, so you probably had to refresh it, every couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nowhere near as good as they do nowadays, where they have it instantaneously, pretty much updating it.
It's a different time.
Yeah.
And
back in the day when there were 3 teams that actually live tweeted games.
Yeah, I still love. I said this. I think I put it in our group chat. Cornell still doesn't tweet anything. They have the number
Part
one
of it's
team.
because the Cough has terrible Wi-Fi, but it's still
True. But Cornell is the number one team in the country, and they just don't post anything. It's like, you know what, go to the game. You want to know the score? Go to the game.
Yeah, go to the game.
So this is different. This is why I think you can make an argument for pushing the season back. Is you get these games. We still get the ubiquity and visibility of streaming now, but you get the games in more prime positions. Whatever happened, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, while we have a little bit of a lull, Navy up 7-6 now, and Penn State just about done pulling away 11-4 over Rutgers. They got about 5 minutes left. We are going to talk hockey a little bit later. Let's do a little NBA talk first before we get going. Heat are up on the Hawks in the play-in game. The play-in round. The play-in round was fun like the first time around, but now it's like I don't want to watch the friggin' Bulls and the Heat and the Hawks every friggin' year with this.
The thing with the play-in is that there are probably 3 or 4 or 5 memorable play-in game moments. And
they all involve the Lakers and Warriors.
Exactly. So it's like, is the play-in actually what people want to watch, or do they just want to watch Steph Curry and LeBron James in important games? I don't know. I think it's probably the latter.
Instead of watching the NBA Southeast Division,
I don't think people are super attracted to the play-in necessarily. I just think they really like watching LeBron and Steph play games
meaningful
of
basketball
stakes. We got a decent crowd at Ridley tonight. Loyola just tied it up 7-7.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give it to Loyola fans, man. They hang in there, even in a brutal year. Probably
the season they're still coming out.
Is it the worst Loyola season ever?
The media guide.
Wikipedia has all the results up in like tables. It's really cool. Someone did this a couple years ago. I don't know whoever they are. If you're listening, you're probably not. You're a hero. Bill Jurgel went 4-8 and then 5-8, no 4-5, and then something else also happened. And he got fired. Cottle, the 3 wins. Okay, so 1972, they went 1-10. That was the second year of the NCAA era. And that was back when they were still Division II. In D1,
so they've been D1 was Cottle.
They've been D1 since 1983. Loyola's lowest win total in a season since they moved to D1 is 4. And they need to win one of their this game, and then the Army game, or this game in a Patriot League first round, quarterfinal, whatever you want to call it, in order to do that. This will be back-to-back losing seasons for Loyola for the first time in 20 years, which does make you kind of ask. It makes you wonder if change. I think there's going to be significant changes either way. That's just the nature. I think when you have this kind of season, I don't think there's any way to avoid that. Whether it's a significant change, we'll have to wait and see. I tend to. I don't know what Toomey's contract is. I tend to think, look, he won a national championship, been to another Final Four, he'll get another year. But I still think there's got to be staff changes at minimum.
All right, so back to NBA playoffs talk. Well, what's your bracket looking like?
Let me pull it up. So you've got Cavs versus the winner of Hawks
Heat or Hawks.
It doesn't matter. Cavs are going to win. Celtics versus Magic. Could be a good series. I think Boston's too good, though. Knicks Pistons is beautiful. That's some real primo Eastern Conference basketball right there. It's going to suck. I love it. There's going to be a game played like 85-83, ideally. It's exactly what I'm looking for. I tend to think the Knicks will get through, but the vibes around the Knicks are not what they've been the last couple of years. So I'm excited to watch the Pistons in playoff games again. Detroit basketball is always super cool. Even if it's now in the Little Caesars Arena and not the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Not the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Or the Silverdome. Pacers, Bucks. This Damian Lillard thing feels kind of concerning. They were like a miraculous recovery from a blood clot. It's like, okay, right on the eve of the playoffs. That feels
Yikes.
But I'll go Bucks.
I'm going. Yeah, Cavs and Celtics definitely. I'm thinking Pacers and 7, and I have Pistons and 7. I don't know. As you said, the vibes kind of feel off with the Knicks.
Yeah, they don't have the. Well, I think it's. You kind of see this, I think, with. It feels similar to what Q's fans have had the last sort of year, ever since they lost to Denver, or maybe even a little bit before that. It's fun when you're on the come up with a team, and man, what a great save!
Yeah.
Loyola has had tremendous goaltending this season, and they're still 2-10, which is bleak. It's kind of the opposite of their Charles Street, counterpart Hopkins, whose bad goaltending has probably kept them from maybe the NCAA tournament. Loyola's had great goaltending, and they've won 2 games. Again, staff changes feel like they have to happen. Yeah, it's great when you're on the come up and the expectations are low. Eventually, you hit that wall where it's like, all right, we got to do something here. And the Knicks have been right,
and that feels like a hallmark of Tom Thibodeau.
Yes, very true. At a certain point, Tibbs he's great at getting the most out of a team. But eventually, he just kind of runs out of steam.
Hit a ceiling. Yeah,
like the Knicks have been for like 3 years now a 50-win team that loses in the second round, and at a certain point, you got to break through. And the Knicks haven't been to a conference final in 25 years. Shot was blocked, actually. Wow. Yeah, great shot block. Speaking of hockey. 25 years is for New York sports teams. I think every New York sports team has been to a conference final round more recently than the Knicks.
Yeah.
Because
Mets and Yankees both made it last year. Rangers made it last year.
Islanders made it a couple times.
Islanders made it 2021. Nets
and 22, right? Islanders made it twice, didn't they?
21 and 20 for the Islanders.
21-20. The Devils
in 2012.
And a couple other times before that. Since
2000. Giants 2011. Jets 2010.
Yes.
Nets in
back to back 02 and 03.
03 and 02.
02 and
yeah.
02 and 03.
I don't think they made it in Vince. Yeah, I don't think they made it to the conference final in the Vince era, because that was when the Pacers and Pistons were kind of running the shop.
Well, no, Vince. It's once they traded. Once they traded for Vince to go with. No, when did they trade for Vince?
2004, 2005. But I don't think they made the conference final. I think they made it in the second round.
It was after. It was the Kid, Kenyon Martin teams.
So Knicks have the longest Final Four drought. Easily.
Yeah, that's not great. And the Knicks, I mean, whatever you want to say about the Knicks in the 90s were always there, at least in the knocking on the door.
Thick of it.
So yeah, I could see the Pistons winning. I think it winds up with Cavs and Celtics, and I think the Celtics win.
Yeah, I got Celtics over the Cavs in 7. I think that's going to be a very tight series, but I think you give the edge to the Celtics experience. West, I got Thunder over. God, again with the play-in, you either get the Mavericks or the Grizzlies. Both of them are in such turmoil.
I was literally leaning towards having the Warriors in the finals for a while there when they made the Butler trade. I'm kind of soured on that the last week. Problem is, all right, so these Patriot League standings, man, God, I love the Patriot League. So insane. There's 2 teams with 2 losses, 3 teams with 3 losses, and 2 teams with 4 losses. Army losing. We were an Army, Navy. A Navy win against Army last week from having a 4-way tie for first.
Sick.
Which would have been absolutely sick.
Patriot League, baby.
And Army, the winner of the regular season hosts the Patriot League tournament, don't they?
Yes.
So an Army, I believe, has hosted it. Was it last year and they lost? Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Might have been last year, 2023. In 2023, they won it. I think last year they hosted the Patriot League tournament. They lost. So not exactly.
Right. Mark's let us know we have 5 minutes to finish this shooty hoops nonsense. Let's run through the bracket real quick. So
I'll go. So my problem is in the West,
Thunder and 4,
is that I think the Clippers could very much eminently beat the Thunder. But
I don't think they're getting to the Thunder. They can get to the Thunder, but I don't think they can.
Denver. I don't know. Denver's a mess.
Denver looks a mess.
So
yeah,
I'm gonna have to regrettably probably pick Oklahoma City. I don't want to buy in quite for some reason. I don't know. Oh, it was because Gilgeous-Alexander is like James Harden-esque with the foul baiting and stuff like that. I always forget Charlie Toomey has hair. This is an insane, because he usually wears the hat. So he usually wears the hat.
He's got a thick lettuce.
I know. But he usually, for a while there, he wore the hat. And he usually had it shaved really, he had the buzz. So you couldn't really see any hair when he had the hat. So for some reason, I always thought he was bald. And now, more recently, he's gone with the... he's got a great head of hair, so yeah, show it off. But yes, for a while there, I legitimately believed that Charlie Toomey was bald. I still kind of do every time I see him. It kind of takes me by surprise.
All right, yeah. So we got 2 minutes left.
All right.
I got Lakers. I got Thunder over whoever the hell in a sweep. Who cares? Clippers over the Nuggets. Nuggets have been bad vibes lately. Lakers over the T-Wolves. I got Rockets over the Warriors in a deep one. I just don't think the Warriors have enough. Give me Thunder over Lakers in the Western Conference Final.
I'll take Thunder over Celtics to win it all. I don't know. Nobody's repeated in the NBA.
I got Celtics over Thunder.
I guess, yeah. So if there's anybody's going to repeat, it's probably the Celtics. But I don't know. NBA has been on a long no repeat streak now ever since not long. It was since the Warriors in
stretch, yeah.
2017, 2018. So it's been 7 years. It's, I don't know. All right, let me switch over on my TV to BTN for this one. So Penn State wins.
So they lock up. They could be the 3 or the 4, right? If Maryland wins, they're the 4.
They're probably going to be. They'll probably be the 3. Either way, they're going to host at worst case scenario, they are going to host a quarterfinal game next week.
Yeah.
But there is a chance. So the broadcast said PSU was locked at 3. I don't think that's true. Because Testudo Times, we tweeted out this link, they did a great job breaking down all the possible standings. So let me see. Penn State beats Rutgers and Ohio State beats Michigan. I think Penn State is the 2. And Maryland loses to Hopkins. So that's key. So Penn State beats Rutgers, Hopkins beats Maryland, and Ohio State beats Michigan. I believe Penn State would be the 2. If Maryland wins, then Penn State is likely the 3. But if Penn State beats Rutgers, Maryland beats Hopkins, and Michigan beats Ohio State, then Ohio State would be the 3 over, because it would be Maryland at 3-2, Ohio State at 3-2, and Penn State at 3-2, and Penn State would have lost to both of those teams. So Penn State could still be the 4. The remaining scenarios available here for Penn State is either 4, 3, 3, 3. So, or 2. There is one with the 2. So they'll probably wind up the 3, but there's still some range of possibilities there.
All right, I want to give some shout outs to Johns Hopkins in Maryland for getting the friggin' memo of wear your best stuff to your
Sim.
game.
Look at Sim. Look at the hair.
Zim.
Look at the hair on Sim.
Tan.
Tan.
Dapper. No, but Hopkins in Maryland getting the memo, wear your best stuff. Maryland in red, white, red, and Hopkins in black, baby Columbia blue, black. That's a far contrast to last week where you have a game between the Cornell big red and the Syracuse orange. Cornell had all black and Syracuse was blue, white, blue.
I think the Cornell, where
the hell do these black alternates come from for Cornell? They look terrible.
I don't know. The Cornell equipment managers, or whatever, I think they have their own Twitter account or something. And they tweeted back at us about the jerseys. And I was like, listen, guys, you're the big red. Wear red. It looks good. I just can't condone wearing non-school colors. Wearing black if it's not a school color. Black is not a Cornell school color. Cornell's colors are white and red. You gotta wear white and red. I can't condone it. I don't think Hopkins and Maryland both have black jerseys. I think that their black jerseys are probably their worst jerseys for both of them. But black is a school color for Hopkins and Maryland.
For both Hopkins and Maryland, right.
So, look, if you want to wear black, all right. Fair enough. Again, I think right now the uniform combo that Maryland has right now is the best that they have. Red, white, and red.
We got the camera angle from outer space tonight. Usually BTN's lower. What are we doing?
It's because I have to blame Maryland for this. They decided they didn't want BTN used to film from the other side of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And when they filmed from the other side of the stadium, the camera angle was obviously superior. But the M was upside down. So therefore, we get this. I mean, you do kind of see the whole. You see the whole box, which is kind of cool. It's sort of a all 22 type view, but unfortunately, the players are really small. As is the ball. It's already small.
I'll just check real quick. 7-7 on Navy Loyola. Another timeout there in the second quarter for halftime. Just back before.
Yeah, I would say Maryland. This is Maryland's best. I like the all red look. That's a good one as well. I do not love black with white that Maryland wears. Honestly, I thought that the uniform combo they had when they won the championship in 22 was like pretty ass. They were black helmets with all white. So I did not like that at all. Yes, Dixon is doing play-by-play tonight. Joe B has been sick for a little while. He wasn't on, hadn't been calling he called the Ovechkin record breaker. And then I think he came down with something with his voice. Apparently, doctors told him to rest his voice. So, yeah, he has been off duty. Hopefully, he'll be back for the start of the Caps playoff series on Monday. But, yeah, unfortunately, Joe B is
save there. Just a timeout. I'm at 12:30 right now. Where are you at?
I am at What do you mean?
The time on the score bug. So we time.
Oh, I'm at 12:24.
Okay, it's perfectly synced. How about that?
Evening, Gil. Good to see you, brother.
Evening, Gil.
Congrats on win for Penn State.
Good.
Penn
So
State
Jake and I are actually perfectly synced right now, which is sick.
We love to see
Usually
it.
I'm a little bit ahead, or with the case of Navy Loyola, he's a little bit ahead. So we'll be on sync for Hopkins, Maryland.
Oh, good luck.
And score there for the Terps.
That's the same play they ran.
Oh, you guys are doing the lighting effects too?
Yes, Gil, we talked about this. Absolutely. It's a wonderful uniform match. Yes, Maryland is doing the I think they started it last year, I want to say, or
yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of it when every Q school they have. I'm definitely not a fan of it when they do this in football. All the schools do.
Yeah, I don't love it. That play Maryland ran. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, and I was going to say, like, the Mets overuse it, too, at Citi Field now, all the lighting effects. Like, Edwin Diaz's intro now, they got a whole friggin' light show. It's overboard sometimes with these things. Also, they got to make you sign a waiver if you got epilepsy or something with these things, because, I mean, that's not going to be good for people with sensitivities.
The play Maryland ran for the goal, Jonathan Donville did a good breakdown of it. They started last week. It's the same play they ran for the first goal against Ohio State. They peeled the crease guy off of the crease and set a pick. So either one, he gets freed up like that, kind of up top, or he goes out and sets a pick. We'll peel him off and he sets a pick for someone else. And it frees up a midi who's dodging towards the middle for a hands-free shot. So that was a wrinkle that they added in the Ohio State game. And obviously, they had success. I think 13 goals against the Buckeyes, who are probably still a top 5 defense in the country by the adjusted efficiency metrics. So I checked the I don't know what happened there. I checked the RPI. Penn State, I believe, is 3 before this result. And I mean, at least, Gil, I'm not sure if you're talking about NCAA, like the big tournament or the Big Ten tournament for sure. For the NCAAs, I don't know if they're third in RPI right now after that win over Rutgers. So that puts them in a very good position. They now have wins over Cornell, who's 4th in RPI. They have wins over Michigan, who's 13th, Yale, who is 14th, and Hopkins and Rutgers were 17th, 18th. So that's 5 top 20 wins. I think they're in a pretty good spot. I guess they can only take one more loss at this point. So, and it's not going to be a bad loss, more likely. So, yeah, I don't know for sure if they're locked 100%, but it feels probably likely. Mark says he don't think they're locked for a home game yet.
I guess it depends on what the ACC bunch and Harvard do in the final weeks. So I guess they're not entirely locked, but they're in good shape as Hopkins takes a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, because
if Harvard could get a Cornell or a Princeton win on their docket, that changes the equation a little bit for them.
Yeah. And then you've got Cuse, who's got 2 big games. They could climb over Penn State. Carolina's got some big games. They could climb over Penn State. I guess Notre Dame even. And I've just good pass and traffic. And a catch as well. The ACC
Notre Dame could...
Go ahead.
Yeah, because Notre Dame, they could beat UNC, and then they all have the ACC tournament as well.
Yeah, and Cornell is behind Penn State right now, probably due to the head-to-head. Dang, we got some goals early in this one.
Yep, 2-2.
Cornell, if Cornell wins out, and let's say Maryland loses here, I think Cornell probably winds up the number 1 seed. If Cornell were to win out, because if Cornell wins out, they're 14-1, I believe, and there's a chance
another Harvard win, another Princeton win, and they would probably extra Yale win in the Ivy League tournament.
So Cornell could. I ran some simulations yesterday. There's scenarios where Cornell winds up first in RPI. Again, it requires them to basically win out. But do I think they win out? I'm gonna say no. I don't think they will. Just because
I have a tough one tomorrow at Harvard, and then they gotta beat one of Harvard or Princeton again to win the Ivy.
This is going to be the wrinkle with the Ivy League tournament is there's a
Cornell 3 locks and one team that has to win.
Yeah, I mean, Harvard, I don't want to say Harvard's a lock yet because I think they have to. Who does Harvard not play yet? After they play Cornell, they have one more game in Ivy League. I think it's against Brown. And
Brown.
If Harvard takes a second bad loss, I think they kind of start to tumble towards the bubble. So I don't think Harvard's a lock. They are, if they beat Cornell tomorrow, they are. So you definitely have 2 locks in Cornell and McNaney only 1 save so far. So Cornell and Princeton locks, and Harvard could be by that point. Yale is the one who's going to be clearly most desperate in the Ivy League tournament. Not even really, I think, a question. And so if Yale goes in with that kind of desperation, we've seen this in the past in these conference tournaments. You've got Michigan showed it last year. Princeton shown it the last couple of years in the Ivy League tournament. When one team has a different motive, it's different when you know that you're playing for your season and the other team thinks that they have another game or knows that they have another game coming next week. That's just different. And so that's definitely something to watch is Yale in that Ivy League tournament, particularly if they are. And look, we've seen upsets. The 1 seed in that Ivy tournament has not
had a good track record.
No. Cornell lost at the Cough last year to Penn.
I mean, this is historically all the way back to when it was introduced in 2010.
That's a good. I might need to pull that up. The history of the Ivy League tournament. But yeah, Cornell lost golf. Remember the year me and Safe have had a lot of fun with this. This year, the 3 weeks that shook the world in Providence in 2022 with Brown. Brown hosted the Ivy League tournament in 2022 and then lost at home, both in the Ivy League semifinals and at home in the NCAA tournament. I don't know who was the 1 seed in 2020. It was Cornell again, and Cornell lost to Yale, I want to say. So Cornell's lost 2 in a row as the 1 seed in the Ivy tournament, which they probably are going to be again. 8 shots.
Keep in mind, there was a stretch where they were playing it at Columbia.
No, yeah. So it's sort of, irregardless of location or anything else, the Ivy League tournament has been upset prone. But yeah, you're right. I go back to Yale won it in 2016, didn't they? I want to say. That was that stretch. Yale they won like 5 Ivy League tournaments in a 6-year stretch in the mid-aughts. Not aughts, pardon me, teens. And there was one year where the last time Harvard got to the Ivy League tournament was 2016. And I think Morgan Cheek had like not 10 goals, and I think Harvard beat Brown. And I don't know if I think Brown was the 1 seed that year.
But I mean, I remember that Cornell 2010 they hosted it. They lost to Princeton in overtime. My senior year, 2013, they were 1 and done in the Ivy League tournament, and it was at the Crosse because I remember going there. It was Yale Princeton for the Ivy League.
Was it 2013? 2013.
Yeah, 2013. Cornell was the 1 seed, and they lost the first round game, Princeton. And it was Princeton Yale in the Ivy League championship.
And that was the loss that got Cornell sent on the road.
Yeah.
Now it didn't really want to matter. I think they stomped Maryland and Ohio State in back-to-back weeks, but that one I remember because that was a great Cornell. Probably, honestly, you can make an argument that Cornell team is the best team to not play a home game in the NCAA tournament. That team was in the old Lax Power when Lax Power did the computer rankings. I believe that team was the highest rated team in the country in the Lax Power computer rankings, and they didn't get a seat. And then because 2013 was as wild as this year has been, I'm still not sure it's as wild as 2013 was. Cuse was the 1 seed that year and had taken 4 or 5 losses, and they lost to some.
I think one of them was what, Villanova or Georgetown were one of those losses. They lost to Albany the first game.
Lost to Albany. It might have been St. John's. 2013. Notre Dame was the 2 seed, and their last 2 losses were to Cuse, and they scored a combined less than 10 goals in those 2 games. Remember that?
They did beat St. John's at the wait for it. Are you ready for this one?
Yes. Oh, I remember this now.
The Whitman Sampler Independence Classic in Chester, Pennsylvania.
I remember this. That's Chester. That's going to be PPL. PPL Park. I always just know it as PPL Park. Yeah. Gil asks, how is Notre Dame feeling if they lose tomorrow? I wouldn't feel great. I can tell you that.
So Cuse lost to not only Albany, they lost to Villanova, and I forgot about this one. They lost to Hobart.
Didn't make the NCAA tournament.
They lost 13-12 to Hobart at home.
You want to know how differently things are, folks, in 2025 college lacrosse compared to, let's say, the early mid-2010s. Syracuse lost to Hobart and got the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament that year.
This was their month of April. 1 goal win to Princeton, 1 goal win to Cornell, 1 goal win to Rutgers, 1 goal loss to Hobart, 1 goal win to Georgetown, and then they beat Notre Dame by 6.
They dominated.
And then they beat Notre Dame by 6 again.
Yeah, what are Notre Dame's combined goals in those 2 games?
7.
Notre Dame got the 2 seed directly after this. Yeah, 2013 is a crazy year. To answer Gil's question, how does Notre Dame feel? And Mark said apprehensive. Not great, because they would be 6-4. They have 1 top 10 win, which is over Duke, and Duke is teetering. Duke's RPI is 0.6283. Ohio State's is 0.6260. So it could very easily change based on the results tomorrow.
Then they got Penn, which is not going to move the needle as much. I mean, unless Penn beats Princeton tomorrow, that's not going to really be a big,
even still Penn
feather in their cap.
Penn and RPI is 20th. Yeah, so Penn beat Princeton. It could maybe. But no, I'm like, ooh, behind the back.
Ooh.
Oh, man. So, yeah, for Notre Dame, that Penn game is almost just
not a must win, but a can't lose. Did Jake freeze up on me?
One more win somewhere
Okay.
in that ACC tournament to be 100% safe. I think we're lagging a little bit.
I think you were frozen when I was saying the point, but like that Penn game is not a must win, but it's a can't lose.
Yes, 100%. I think we're freezing a little bit on Wi-Fi. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I don't know if it was me or you
now.
that time. Yeah, we're good at the moment.
Big scrum. Always love a scrum in Hopkins, Maryland. 7-4 Notre Dame feels like they need the ACC semifinal against UNC to feel good. Yeah, I think they're probably within range of, because they would probably be not the first team out, not the last team in, but the second to last team in.
What a bonehead turnover that was for Hopkins.
Hopkins had a couple turnovers have just killed Hopkins this season. The offense is not great. It's playing well here. Hasn't been great, but it's the simple transitions, passing and catching, have killed them. Notre Dame would be the second to last team in. And second to last team in, as we've seen the last 2 years, is within range of chaos. Because you could have an Ivy League bid steal. You could have a Patriot League bid steal, potentially, if Army winds up at 13-2. You could have a Big Ten bid steal. So you are within range of, at second to last team in, you are within range of chaos happening. You have not.
Yeah. Ask Cornell what it feels to be second to last team in the past couple of years.
If they lose tomorrow, if they win tomorrow and lose ACC semifinal, I assume they're still in. If they beat Carolina, I think, unless it's, again, I mean, utterly insane, incomprehensible mayhem, they're going to be in. Yeah, because nice wrap, speed
Top score.
It's a good game so far. Because that would get them at minimum a top 10 win over Carolina, and 2 top 10 wins is kind of there's a big difference between the teams who have. I mean, the only teams with multiple top 10 wins right now are Princeton, Maryland, Cornell, and Ohio State. So getting another top 10 win is, for all of these teams, is hugely pivotal.
That's big tomorrow for what? You said UNC is not one of them, right?
No, Gil was asking if Notre Dame beat UNC and then lost their ACC semifinal, would they be in?
No. I was saying in terms of top 10 wins, with multiple top 10 wins. Did you say UNC was one of them or no?
No, UNC is only top 10. Everybody in the ACC.
Yes. Yeah, so tomorrow's big for UNC, Notre Dame, and Cuse, because that'll rack up another top 10 win for each of them.
All of these ACC,
too, right?
All of these ACC teams. Oh man,
calling a flag on that.
Yeah, you got kind of. All of these ACC teams. Carolina, their top 10 win is Duke. Syracuse, their top 10 win is Notre Dame. Notre Dame, top 10 win is Duke. Then there's Duke, which doesn't have a top 10 win.
Yeah.
So for a lot of, got them on the hold.
By the way, just checking Navy Loyola out right now, 8-8 in the third quarter at Ridley.
Yeah, so the games, you're right, Ryan. The ACC games tomorrow are hugely pivotal. Duke, if they beat Cuse, I'm not going to say for sure, but it's very, very, they're going to be looking very, very good. However, if they lose, they're in, similar position that they've been in, but they lose a chance to grab a big win, and then they got to go play Virginia for the ACC
tournament
spot. Bad man up by Hopkins, just didn't do anything with that. Got a decent look at the end there. Cuse probably locks with a win tomorrow. Not a home game, but a berth. They're pretty much there right now, but that would be another good win.
Yeah, pretty much seal the deal for a berth.
Yeah.
And then the UNC game is probably for a home game.
Yes, the
before
UNC.
ACC.
Yes, the UNC. If Cuse beats Duke and UNC, they're definitely getting a home game.
Sided it.
This is an interesting thing. Ryan, how would you feel about a Cuse road game in the first round of the tournament? Oh man, what
very much depends on who they're going to play. What the hell is going on in College Park here?
Oh man, some Keystone Cops.
For Cuse, I think it depends on who they would get, because I know they've been. I know everyone said, "Oh, when they go outdoors, they haven't been as great," but I think the Maryland Cornell losses were more so about who they were playing more than about the fact that they were outdoors rather than indoors. But I think, let me look up in Mark's bracketology real quick.
It's Harvard, right? It's Harvard right now.
Yeah, that's.
I think they would beat Harvard again.
Yeah, second shot at Harvard, I'm fine. But if they got to go to like West Point, that could get dicey.
Yeah, that's a different. The Harvard game was Cuse won 28 of 32 faceoffs and lost. Like, I'm not saying they're going to win 28 of 32 faceoffs again, but I do believe they would dominate faceoffs. And I think Cuse already. Army would be, that's a different because you've got.
That's a dicey. That would have been dicey one at the, even if it was at the Dome, if they're on the road. But at West Point, that gets real treacherous.
That might be. Yeah, and as Gil says, Colletti's back for Army. That's huge. Here's what mine has: Cuse at Harvard, Army at Cuse, Foyt's got Ohio State at Cuse.
Yeah,
honestly,
like if they go to Columbus, it's not as bad.
They're
but
not going to go to Columbus. Columbus would be a. I'll tell you. Columbus would be a bad trip. Columbus, that's just such a hassle getting out there. Do I think Cuse is? Gil said he thinks Cuse smacks Ohio State anywhere. I think Cuse is at their best. Their ceiling is higher than Ohio State. I just know that traveling to Ohio State is not.
Well, I mean, if they go by geography, that's likely. If Notre Dame doesn't get a home game, that's where they're sending Notre Dame.
Yes. Which, speaking of, man, I mean,
what the hell? Airmail there. Well, McNaney it's only a second left.
Yeah, I mean, but McNaney looks a little. Is not.
What's going on with Navy?
He's had one.
We all just scored.
He's got one save and a couple little yippy moments on the clear.
I mean, the best case scenario for Cuse is if they can get a home game and then second round avoid Maryland and preferably play Princeton because of history matters. Because that's how I feel about it. Is we're talking about boogie teams here.
I think the best.
I don't want to play Maryland. We haven't beat Maryland in ages. Conversely, we haven't lost to Princeton in ages.
This is, I think, the more. I mean, for Cuse, the best case scenario is you win, go 3-1 the rest of the way. If Cuse goes 3-1 the rest of the way, they could get to. I mean, look, winning out it would be amazing because winning out gets them really high up there.
That gets them choice of quarterfinal site, basically. They would get Hofstra instead of Annapolis.
Maybe. I think.
Because that's the other thing. If you get Maryland, you're stuck going down to Maryland. You're stuck going down to Annapolis.
Yes, because they're going to put Maryland in Annapolis. Though I don't know. I mean, Maryland was the 1 seed in 2022, and they sent them to Columbus instead of Hofstra. So who knows how they do these things? They usually give the 1 seed the more preferable matchup, but it's never guaranteed. what Gil mentions is I think Cuse Princeton is a nice matchup for Cuse because of face-offs with Mullen. And I think that
the only thing that gives me pause about playing Princeton is that's one of the few teams where the midfield advantage would be negated.
Potentially, yeah. Princeton's got a good rope unit. I just think that Cuse Princeton probably winds up as a track meet style game, and I think that Cuse would like that. Now, it's hard to play Princeton in a track meet because they're very good in the middle of the field, and goalie play would be big in that one too. They would need a big. I mean, look, goalie play is going to be fascinating in this NCAA tournament. It always is. It's hugely crucial. But you've got like Notre Dame with Richie Ardelli, who's had a great year, but it's his first trip to the tournament. Would be his first NCAA tournament. You've got Jimmy McCool, who's a sophomore, not a freshman, but again, first NCAA tournaments. We always mention freshmen in the tournaments. A lot of teams going with goalies in Croddick for Princeton, first NCAA. A lot of teams goalies going first NCAA tournament. Now, again, not a lot. I can't think of anybody who's starting a true freshman in goal, which is always
Loyola, by the way.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, Loyola plays 1-goal games, so that feels like it's going to come down to the wire. So, I can't think of anybody who's playing true freshman in goal, but definitely someone. On the flip side, you've got Maryland with McNaney, who's every year he's played, he's gone to the championship game. If Cuse could get to the 6 or 5, their quarterfinal would be Penn State. 5 could be Cornell. Again, we'll see though. Could be honestly, I think you got to just if you in this NCAA tournament, I think it's
show up and be the best team you can be each Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, it's get a first round game of the tournament. Because that's I think crucial to give yourself minimize it's a high variance year. Things are wild. So you play at home, you minimize the different elements you have to deal with. You get the crowd advantage, obviously, comfortability. And if you get a home game, yes, indeed. Ryan said be the best. I think getting a home game after that, I don't think you really worry about like a quarterfinal. What's the big difference between these teams 1 through 8? You've got honestly, Mark. I think Jelinas has played pretty well for Hopkins in this first half. Maryland's getting a lot of good looks. Who's the 8th ranked team in the media poll right now? I can pull up our spreadsheet.
Oh, I just pulled it up. So sorry, yeah, I'll be cheating.
No, you're fine. 8th is Harvard.
Penn State.
No, sorry, yeah, ours is Harvard. So Penn State's 8th. Cornell's number 1. Penn State beat Cornell. Now, granted, crazy game.
And
Cornell should have won.
The most unopportune time to commit a non-releasable.
Yes, Cornell should have won that game, but nonetheless, be that as it may, that tells you everything. Notre Dame is 8th, 9th, anywhere in there. Notre Dame still has like the 2nd or 3rd best championship odds on DraftKings. And there's still plenty of belief in Notre Dame out there. And I don't think you want to see Notre Dame in the first round with the tournament experience they have. And still plenty of talent on that roster. Good goalie, great face-off. So, I mean, Cornell's the number 1 team. Cornell hasn't won an NCAA tournament game in 3 years. Maryland, obviously, I think is going to be a team that gets the most support to make the Final Four because it's Maryland and they have a good team. Mm-hmm. After that,
But we've seen in Big Ten play, though, that they can be susceptible to a big upset, and we're not that far removed to when they had a big upset in the first round.
No, I think this is the question.
I mean, the safest money is on Maryland making a Final Four in the past 10 years and stuff, but even they're not immune.
No, and I think here's the question that is going to be, I think for me, when I'm probably filling out my bracket, is who has the best A game? Because all of these teams we've seen can be beaten. Maryland, of course, there feels in some ways maybe more a wide dispersion because their 2 losses were kind of ugly, but also Maryland's wins might be best in some of their performances, as we've seen. That save Jelena should have had. As Maryland's, as you said, they've lost their 2 wins in Big Ten play are terrific. They dominated Penn State and dominated Ohio State. Their 2 losses are, Rutgers beating Maryland might be one of the biggest upsets of the season.
Yeah.
Gil says Cornell's fastball.
Rutgers.
Cornell's fastball is the best. I lean Maryland.
Yeah, the way they looked against Princeton, the way they looked against Syracuse, if they bring that in the NCAA tournament, they're going to be extremely hard to stop.
If Cornell gets goalie play the way they got it against Cuse, I think that they're a really tough out. Because that was kind of the difference in the game was goalie play. Everything else was pretty.
Yeah, because Cuse was making a comeback there in the third quarter, and they were all about that.
It's and this I think is a fair point for Mark as well. We talked about this a lot and maybe
the gauntlet.
Yeah, and Maryland too. Think about the schedule Maryland played in non-con. Did maybe that just have more of a delayed kind of impact?
And Mark said prior about the inside draws that come with them because again they're non-con performances.
Yeah, they did the most work. What I say is that in terms of the advantages, it definitely gets 1 or 2 seed. You get the play-in winner. That is key.
Because remember the tournament's expanded to 18 now that we have an extra conference again.
I think that's really pivotal in terms of who gets the 2 seed. Because remember, the 2 seed has been a kind of mousetrap over the years. Georgetown a couple years ago, Denver against Towson 2016. Not to bring up Brian Cuse has had some
twice. Brian and Army
upsets in that 2 seed spot. The 2 seed spot has been a potential pitfall. The 1 seed has never lost the first round game, and they've only once lost a quarterfinal. I won't mention which game it was again for Ryan. Ryan, I'll give you this one. Cuse beat Loyola in the 16 era. It's only done once. Before that, Cuse did beat Loyola. I think it was 99. So you have the 1 seed really has the advantage. Play-in, quarterfinal just seems to be a historical advantage. The 2 seed, the play-in winner, it being a play-in game definitely changes it because it's a much easier matchup than it maybe has been in the past. So it's hard to see a play-in team beating one of these, whoever will be as in that 2 seed spot. Once it gets to the quarterfinal, throw your hands up, man. I don't know. To go back, Gil's point. I think Cornell, Maryland, and have the best fastballs. Princeton intrigues me because I'm not sure what Princeton's fastball. I'm not totally sure what Princeton's fastball looks like. I was talking about this with Safe. I don't know if we talked about it on the pod or if we did it before. What would you say Princeton's best wins are this year? Like they're
the UNC win,
okay,
and the Harvard win, but both both of them were close wins. I feel like they haven't shown their hand is the thing with Princeton is I feel like they're very good, but I think they're kind of, you even saw it like the first quarter last week. I was, on the train checking scores and they were not pulling away. They were in a tight one with Brown that first quarter. I'm like, but then you saw them pull away like in a hurry. And I think they haven't really shown their hand just yet. They've been playing a lot of close games, but I think that might be to their advantage. As Mark said, they haven't been on the radar for a month. Yeah, and Princeton Penn State at PSU was also a very weird one in indoors overtime victory.
Overtime game. They beat Penn State at Penn State, great win, overtime game. Beat Carolina at Carolina, great win, 1-goal win. And this is not saying that, look, beating great teams is great.
On the road, yeah, Duke, 1-goal win. And they look great in them. But I think that we haven't seen their full potential just yet, which makes it, I think, a bit scary for whoever they're going to be playing against.
It could be, or maybe we have, and they're bet. And this is where you bring up, you remember the face-offs again. Is their best level being a very, very good team, maybe, but one that is, this is a good point here, young team, and a young team with that face-off disadvantage that kind of closes their gap, that kind of drags them back down into close games.
I'm interested in this game tomorrow at Penn. Next 2 weeks are going to be kind of interesting for the Tigers. Penn and Yale the next 2 weeks. Those are sneaky games.
The Yale game I'm interested in. I think that I can't see Penn getting I just don't think Penn's going to score goals, and Penn isn't good at face-off. The Yale game I think is interesting because I do think Yale is playing good lacrosse over the last couple weeks. And Yale's offense is starting to come around as well. Now, granted, for Yale, the problem is Machado Rodriguez. It seems like the word is, Jesus Christ, Stovall had some trouble with the basics.
Sloppy lacrosse here.
Seems like Mac Rodriguez could be long-term injury, which would kind of negate Yale's potential advantage at the face-off dot. Mark said check McMeekin's face-off trend this season. He has won last game 57%, 50% against Vermont, 67% against Lehigh, 47% against Dartmouth, 64 against Harvard. So that is positive. What I will say is the level of competition compared to the beginning of the year is significantly different. I mean, the teams they play in the beginning of the year, the face-off guys, those are the guys that are going to be playing in the NCAA tournament. Penn State with, Cam puts it best. It's negatively correlated to competition level. He does great against poor face-off guys or these face-off guys. He has not done very well at all against good competition.
We officially got a situation, by the way, at Ridley. It is now a 3-goal Greyhounds lead.
All right, let me flip over there now that we're on a commercial break. Yeah, coming up at the end of the third quarter. So I think that now, do I think McMeekin would go 30% again? I don't know. I think he's a good player. He's shown good performance in the past, but that's still the concern, I think, for Princeton is even Harvard. The Harvard game, I would say, is their best performance, but that's also a game where they dominate faceoffs. And that was a game where you could see that's where I think you saw the ceiling. When they won faceoffs, that offense really got humming in a hurry. When they don't, the offense is still good, don't get me wrong, but it does look, it's hard playing offense without to be an elite offense or really put up big numbers without face-off wins. You gotta be great. You just got to be historically good on offense. And I think Princeton's very good. I don't know if they're that good. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on the Navy Loyola game, so might have a little bit of a delayed reaction. All right, big save for Navy. They needed that.
I'm going to turn one of my lights on here. It's getting a little dark.
Let me close my shades.
To answer Cam's question, I think McAsee's a good player. Very good player, even. He's a great shooter, obviously. I do not think that he is I think Princeton's offense is better the less that he carries the ball. The more that they initiate from the midfield with guys like Tucker Wade. Nate Kabiri's had a good season. Feel like I was maybe thinking a little bit more, a bigger leap. I think if he does have a bigger leap in him, it would be tremendous for that Princeton offense. It would really kind of lift them up a bit. But the more they initiate through, especially I think that midfield is, the better that offense is. I think that their offense is best when other guys are handle. He's a great shooter, and he's not even a bad dodger, but teams really are quick to hammer the double team, slide to him, and I don't know that he doesn't pass out of the double team effectively enough for you to have him dodging a lot.
So we are at the end of the third in Ridley. Shot off the pipe for Hopkins, but that's going to be backed up by Maryland.
Donald definitely good. Palumbo's a great passer for them. Not great shot selection there by Hopkins. I mean, good effort, but yeah, but now he's coming along. Wait, I love their midfield. I think their midfield has got a lot of. Shot clock was shot clock didn't reset.
Yeah, shot clock was running out.
Did not reset though.
Maryland won the chase.
No, but on the replay it showed the clock at like 3 or 2. But remember, you said the shot hit the pipe, so it should have reset.
It hit the pipe, but it didn't matter because Maryland won the Maryland.
No,
won the backup.
That was the shot before the most recent was when it hit the pipe, and that should have reset it to 60. And I don't think it reset. Okay. So Hopkins had to force that wraparound shot because there was no time on the shot clock, and then Maryland won the race. When, to me, it looked like the refs signaled for a reset, and I don't think that it reset. Goalie out of the cage.
Pass on the carpet.
Oh my gosh. Come on, yo. What's your time at?
I'm at 3:08 on the Hopkins Maryland game.
You're like 5 seconds ahead of me.
Okay. So I'm ahead of you on BTN. I'm behind you on CBSSN.
Yes, Cam. Machado got hurt at the end of last season. I think it hurt Yale's ability to kind of make a run. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's a face-off guy. Tough kid. Really good player. But, yeah, definitely he's dealt with some injuries over the course of – I don't know if this is like a reoccurring one from last year. But he's dealt with some injuries throughout at least the last 2 seasons.
possession by the Jays, and then I'll switch back to Mids Hounds.
The looks are in tight, so it's hard, but I think McName's got one save.
Yeah, I think that one's more on the defense.
Yeah, no, that one. I mean, Hopkins is making some. Maryland is not sliding, obviously. But I think they are getting a little more, a little caught. They're not sticking to their men. Yeah, like they're leaning too much. They're not sliding, but they're thinking about the slide more than covering the crease. And Hopkins is taking advantage of it. Great ground ball by the Terps. Wonder if Maryland uses a timeout here.
It's getting late in the quarter.
Someone likes to maximize possessions quite a bit. So in this spots, I guess not. I don't think they're out.
I don't think they've used a timeout yet.
No.
But letting them play this.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You don't have to use a timeout in this spot, but usually Maryland uses a timeout in this spot. So that's why I'm a bit surprised.
Probably should have used a timeout there.
Yeah, not bad. Like goalie, again, the save
11-2 save disparity right now.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of tells you.
That's the only reason why Hopkins is still in this game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Loyola was on a man advantage, but Navy's got the ball. Maybe almost throw that completely away. All right, there we go. Navy cuts the deficit to 2 there. I love how BTN always uses the USILA.
Yeah, and they're pretty consistent with it. They're not like just, if it
whichever makes the Big Ten look better.
Yeah, they're pretty consistent using the coach's ball.
If you were coming here for hockey talk, it's going to have to wait a bit because this Loyola Navy game is going to be good. We'll watch, focus on that at halftime with Maryland Hopkins. Just as a reminder, we do tomorrow have Saturday Night Power Hour as well. Once we have a time locked down, we'll tweet it out to you guys. By the way, yes, as of right now, lacrosse is too spicy for this hockey talk nonsense. Hey, it's not nonsense. We'll get to it a little bit later, but the lax is spicy. And when, Jake, I'll hold off on the comment to see this last possession. I don't know what the hell Hopkins is doing. They got running out of time here.
There's attacking with 10.
Well, that was a end of half possession.
Yeah, attacking with 10 is you got to attack with 15 or 20, so you get a second. McNady pads his stat sheet a little bit. You gotta go with 15 or 20. Going until 10, you're not going to get one. You're not going to get a good look, more than likely, and you aren't going to get a second look if it bottles down. Because if you have 15 to 20, you attack with 15 to 20. There's 10 seconds. You can basically just take a possession shot, chuck it out of bounds, have the backup, and reset.
So Jake, Mark said the lacrosse is too spicy, and we do have some spicy lacrosse. Now, I do like spicy buffalo wings. So, really? Jake, if you know what else people like spicy foods.
I know that I like lacrosse.
Yes, and I really like spicy lacrosse. And you know what you should do if you really like spicy lacrosse and us watching that spicy lacrosse?
This is too much.
That like button.
You should definitely smash the like button, but this is too much usage of the word spicy and lacrosse in the same sentence.
Spicy goal for Navy there, 1-goal game.
Speaking of buffalo wings, chicken, I went to Bojangles today.
Ooh.
And I enjoyed Bojangles. The chicken was okay. It wasn't, Popeyes is better for sure. Cane's is better. It's probably like the median fast food chicken you can get. The biscuit was fantastic though. They are right on when they advertise their biscuits because those are tremendous. Good sides too. I enjoyed it. It seems like if you're just looking for like breakfast spot, they're pretty great because the biscuits are great. So you can, do a lot there with biscuits. They got different. They got like a blueberry biscuits. So like strawberry, different stuff.
Strawberry biscuits.
Yeah, no. Huh. So, but I enjoyed going to Bojangles. I went to Antietam today. National Park, Battlefield. Highly recommend going to Battlefields if you get the chance.
That's what, a 2-hour drive for you?
Yeah, about 1 hour 45 around there. Yeah, it was under 2 hours, but definitely closer to the 2-hour range.
Yeah, I actually reason why we didn't do the episode last week, I was not getting drenched at Syracuse Cornell. Let's just see. I'm going to see what Jake just reacted to in a sec. Oh, that's a laser.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed my trip to DC last weekend. I guess speaking of food, the only knock is like when you're in downtown DC, there's a reason why there's nothing but food trucks on the National Mall. Because restaurants are very few and far between in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stayed in Alexandria, so I checked. My mom and I, at night we did the Old Town area. And we did Mount Vernon, we did Arlington National Cemetery, we did everything on the mall, the Smithsonian's and all that. Really fun experience. The Metro, I guess I lucked out because the Metro ran very well. I don't know if that's the norm in DC for the Metro to actually be working.
Metro's fine.
Because there was that unsuck Metro Twitter account back in the day. But
I mean, listen, it's public transportation in the U.S., there's always going to be.
But I feel like it was an upgrade over the MTA, which I think after experiences in Washington, Boston, and Toronto, I think that kind of shows that it's more of an MTA thing than anything else. But no, I think the other cool thing about, when you're in DC is you have people come from all around the country, all different backgrounds, different ways of life, different political leanings, but everyone just comes together in DC and just everyone geeking out on American history and stuff. It's pretty cool environment, really, where it's just everyone, no matter how you feel about things, just geeking out on seeing all the landmarks and memorials and
it's a similar thing
and stuff.
When you go to like a battlefield, you get a bunch of people from a lot of different places. Because people, there are trips for people to see, and you really get it's always Loyola goes up by 3, 9 minutes to play. It's always cool seeing the things that have been either restored or are still there from exactly the way they were when the battle was fought. It's a great time capsule if you go. Antietam was good. Antietam's pretty small. You can do it.
It's not Gettysburg length, right?
No, yeah, Gettysburg is massive.
Gettysburg's massive.
And Gettysburg is tremendous. Antietam was good, but yeah, it's pretty small. You can get it done pretty quickly.
I did get to go to a Caps game. That was fun as well. They lost 4-1, but Capital One Arena is pretty cool. I guess the only reason why they're doing all the renovations is for more suites, right? Because I felt like the concourses were a little tight, but otherwise it's a very nice arena.
I think they want suites. Probably they need more. There needs to be more leg room in between the seats. At least where I was at, the seats are pretty.
Yeah, they were a little tight.
So that's probably what I would say. Just kind of like things like that.
But real good location. It's right on the metro and everything, and it was quick and easy to get back to Alexandria there. And I think the other thing, my other experience, it was kind of funny with like every advertisement on the metro is like targeted just to the government of like, hey, we could be your contractor. The funniest one's the Pentagon station, where you just have ads of like, we can help you maintain the battlefield. And like advertising it like it's selling you like you're going to a restaurant or something, which I found kind of amusing.
The Loyola was low enough in RPI that I think they'd be in the playing game, wouldn't they? I mean, I guess if they won out, they'd probably jump a bunch. But they're like 62nd right now. I feel like they'd
62nd. Holy crap!
They're 2-10.
Yeah,
I mean, they might jump up a lot, but
yeah,
it still
we'll
feels
see
like
if they hold on here. That we got to see how much they jump, because that could be a good double digit.
I mean,
jump.
listen, they still might need, as Mark's been saying, they still might need to beat Army next week to
make
for sure.
Yeah, this is not going to seal their deal for the Patriot League tournament at all.
For Navy,
if they hold on.
For Navy, man, I mean, I know there's always the worry about like the hangover after the Army-Navy game, just with how physical that game is. But Navy came out with a good start here.
Yeah, they were just everything since mid-first quarter has been un-Navy-like.
Sometimes you see that they have like one big punt team coming after a physical game. They have one punch early, see if they can put it away. If not, they get caught in dogfight, and that seems to be what's happened here. But Navy's an interesting situation. New AD coming in, so the AD who hired Amplo not going to be there. I don't know if Amplo has gotten a contract extension. I have not heard anything. I don't think anybody's said anything.
The interesting thing that I think added a new wrinkle to it was last week finding out his daughter's at the Naval Academy. So that might play a role.
I think that's why he's partly. Well, no, how long has his daughter been there?
I don't know.
I think she's a sophomore. I don't know. Let me see. I tweeted it out last week. I'm like, wait a sec. I didn't know that.
This is true.
Let me see.
But Ampla's been there 6 seasons now. Now, what I will say is this is, I believe this is probably how Navy's looking at it, and this is how I would look at it. The first season doesn't count because it was the COVID-shortened year. And then the second year, 2021, was the COVID year, like with limited capacity.
Yeah, sorry. His daughter is a sophomore.
Okay.
I just played the video back from the other day.
Limited capacity games. The Patriot League, I think, did a Patriot League only schedule. Teams had games canceled due to COVID. So I think really you kind of start with him as the clock from 2022. Even with that, have not made an NCAA tournament yet in his tenure, and haven't really. I don't think they made a Patriot League championship game either. I like this team. Ooh. I like this team that he's had this year. I've been high on them at different points. The offense with Ken Brocher as offensive coordinator has definitely improved from last year, which granted was Phipps left late. They hired Cottle.
I just saw the same.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's probably the dagger.
God, Loyola's averaging 9 goals a season, 9 goals a game this season, and that's going to be 14. Holy God!
Their offensive
10 man, it's scoring on the 10-man ride. We were talking about this in the DMs when Penn State scored the goal earlier. The 10-man rides have been exploited this year.
How often does Navy run a 10-man ride? It doesn't appear to be often. And you're going to go to a 10-man ride with 6 minutes left in the game, down 3. I know that, look, you think Loyola's going to take up 80 of that shot clock. You can still get it back with 4 minutes left. 2 goals. You score 2 goals, 3 minutes. I don't know. That just doesn't feel like the right call in that situation to me. Especially, I mean, it is if you run it often. I believe it is, and Navy's done it some today. I don't think they're a great 10-man ride team, and that seems to be what the issue is. Teams are just running the 10-man ride as like a change-up. You got to be committed to the 10-man ride to run it well. If you're not good at it, then just going into it or showing it isn't gonna help you. And Navy 0-3 against the big rivals. This is the middle of the season.
And two of them against Hopkins and Loyola in their worst seasons in recent memory to boot.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled the upside on Hopkins, I think, either last 2 seasons in a row or 2 of the last 3. That's fair, you know. Good teams win, great teams cover. But the middle of the season, that slump was understandable when Hayashi they were just in massive trouble at the faceoff department. But they got him back last week against Army. They had a 2-goal lead in that Army game, and they played their worst lacrosse of the game, basically. And now Loyola's, this is what, 4 in a row Loyola in the last 4 minutes. Just, these are 2 rough losses to take back to back, and basically takes them from potentially on the road in the Patriot League quarterfinals. Most goals allowed this season. Sheesh.
Against a 2-win Loyola. I mean, to be fair to Loyola, they have been playing much better lacrosse the past month or so, but still, you can't be doing this against a 2-win team. I think Jake is just taking a quick break, but right now,
Yeah, I'm
15
here.
to 10 Loyola. Oh, there you are.
I'm
Okay.
sending a tweet. I'm sending a tweet.
Okay. Yeah, so 15-10 Loyola on CBS-SN. That's running down. Maryland has just added a goal to make it 7-5 on BTN.
I missed it. Let me get back over.
Flip-flopping between the two. Loyola wins another face-off. So that one might almost be as good as Dustin. Maybe gets a turnover. So I'll stick to this just a moment. And they threw it away. And another empty net goal. That's going to do it for that one.
All right. Hounds are alive.
Somehow, some way.
How
for the Hounds.
Not out of it yet. Look, that's a proud program.
Yeah.
It was
good for them
It was rough. I mean, falling. It's not all one. It shouldn't be. It's not all one goal losses. And it shouldn't kind of be misconstrued that way. They have a lot of issues. You mentioned their offense is like 63rd or something or 53rd. I think they're sub 50 in adjusted offensive efficiency and sub 60 in faceoff efficiency. Their defense is, their goaltending is their best position, but their defense is their best unit, and it's not great. Like, they're a bad team, and that's obviously concerning for a program of that caliber. But it's still definitely tough losing, one goal games like that. And they have a young team too. I think they only have 2 seniors in the lineup. Both are on the defensive end, so very young team at the offensive end. For Navy, yeah, I'm interested in what they do. I don't know his status, but they haven't really come close to making the NCAA tournament in his tenure, and we know that there is. Look, that's another, again, proud program, and one with, what a great ground ball that was by Jack McDonald. Goosed it ahead, got the ground ball win, feeds the wing. Ooh, Chalinas. Man, he's just, Maryland's shooting a little over 25% in this game. Needs to start changing. Chalinas is not good low. They need to, shooting high to high is not going to cut it. They need to switch up the angles.
Yeah, so Mark says, regarding the Patriot League, Colgate has Holy Cross tomorrow. Bucknell Navy play next week. Loyola probably needs Army too.
Yeah. I don't foresee that one, but good for them for getting the win. Look, I think it's more bad on Navy that you're getting sucked into a potential Patriot League road quarterfinal when you had a chance of hosting, getting yourself into a semifinal, maybe a rematch against Army. I don't know how those things were shaking out, but I think if they had played at home in the quarterfinal, I think their chances in a semifinal you would have felt decent about. Either it's a rematch against Army, that game's always closer. Against a BU team, they dominated early in the year, but now they're right back in the mess.
Patriot League, baby.
Also, doesn't help those teams who Army is probably the one for sure that really wanted it, but teams who have Navy as a win that maybe wanted get in the top 20. Army is the one who I think really would have wanted that, and this is going to basically kill any chance of that. There's another save by Giants. what's that now? 13
He's
saves?
only 15 he's up to.
15 saves.
That's the only reason why Hopkins is still in this game.
Career high. I mean, some of it's Maryland shooting, but nonetheless, look, you make 15 saves, you make 15 saves. And there you go. McNaney.
There you go. Yeah, scorer there.
Has 3 saves. This is an insane game. I mean,
Mark said Patriot League Wheel of Destiny. Like the old Thunderdome in the CAA, and little grimace there. But yeah, Hopkins 1-goal game, and this game is bizarre. 27 shots for Maryland and Hopkins 17. And it's a 1-goal game. It has gone to stereotypical Big Ten lower scoring lately. Not as much scoring as there was in the first quarter now. It's 7-6, more than halfway through the third quarter. But yeah, this is just I would say at this juncture, kind of like a trip to watch because it's kind of.
I mean, Hopkins has done some good stuff on offense. Like their looks are good looks. The looks they are getting looks in tight. Maryland's off ball. You don't usually see Maryland communicate this poorly off ball. And some of it is Hopkins is running the shot clock down. And so they're making, it's a strain to kind of defend for that long. And they're not really looking to dodge. They are looking to find cutters. So they're making Maryland defend off ball as much as possible for of the possession as they can. But nonetheless, Maryland's the hallmarks of their defense. There's a good stop by McNaney. I don't think it's been great, but all of Hopkins' goals are like in tight. I mean, they're basically right on the crease. He's normally maybe steals 1 or 2 of them. That's McNaney. But 6 goals on 18 shots. That's 33. I mean, that's 33% is pretty good. I think it's even better when you account for, again, McNaney I think he's got 3 saves. So if that's 4, it's probably shooting 60% in terms of the shots on net. Whereas Maryland is 33% if we got, or less than that, because it's 7 goals to 22. There's 15 saves for Jelina's 22 shots on that.
By the way, NBA update: Heat up 2 on the Hawks. 11.3 left in the fourth. Hawks got possession. So, little basketball update for you. Oh, that is a laser with that deep in the shot clock.
Oh, yeah. Schultz, great shot.
All right, let's see what the Hawks have for us.
I think you're still like 2 to 3 seconds ahead of me on the Big Ten feed. Schultz has been a great player for Maryland this year, a freshman. It's tough to break into the lineup for Maryland as a freshman, and he's done it. He can pass well, and obviously has been one of their honestly better Dodgers. Seeing if we got an attendance figure for Maryland Hopkins. I think the crowd is much better on the other side. Penn State and Rutgers call they have a rivalry trophy, and they call it
the Friendship Cup.
Friendship Cup.
The Friendship Cup.
I'm sorry, I cannot abide by this. That's like
what friendship? Rutgers and Penn State.
You can't have
Penn State bullied Joe Pa bullied them into the Big Ten. And Rutgers is like, hey, Big East is falling apart at us. That's their friendship. Is they both got themselves into the Big Ten? What are we doing here?
You can't have a trophy.
There's got to be an explanation.
You can't have a trophy for a rivalry game and call it the Friendship Cup. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just I cannot. No, I'm not. So
actually, the trophy debuted in 1998. So I'm on the Rutgers website. Rutgers and Penn State play for the Friendship Cup. The trophy debuted in 1998 as a symbol of the friendship of a group of 4 friends from Sewanaka High School on Long Island who went off to college splitting 2 ways, one pair attending Penn State and the other heading off to Rutgers, including the recently passed Tom Hayes, who was a Penn State alum and then the longtime head coach at Rutgers.
Okay. I mean, I get it, but also, like, no. Again, it's a right.
Like, wow, you had a group of friends that went to Penn State and Rutgers. Sounds like every high school in the Northeast.
I just do not support.
Hawks tie, by the way.
Even if it wasn't a rivalry then, I do not support calling a game. I don't support the idea of a friendship. I just, especially now that it like is a. I mean, it's not a. Big Ten
Rutgers low key has a lot of friggin' trophy games. They got a trophy game against Princeton. They got a trophy game against Penn State.
Are there any other ones? I knew the Princeton one, which is good. I mean, that's.
I'm surprised they don't have one with UMass or Army yet.
This is a great question from Gil. Which team should play for the Enemies Cup?
Ohio State and Maryland.
That's a good one. Ohio State's got a lot of teams that could play for a enemies Cup. Ohio State, Maryland's good.
If it was in the 2000s, Syracuse and UMass, because that game always almost ended up in a bench clearing brawl. But
UMass and Army is a physical game and it's defensive, but I don't think there are enemies. Trying to think who else. Ohio State Maryland's a good one.
Yeah. See, it can't be Syracuse Hopkins because both sides talk too glowingly of one another.
Yes, 100%. Like that doesn't work. Yeah, Mark mentioned it. Civil conflict, Central Florida and UConn. That's what I was thinking of when I heard the Friendship Cup.
Friendship Cup, civil conflict. The best was how which side completely ignored it. Was it UConn that was like, "No, we're not doing this"? Was it UConn or UCF? One of them.
UConn created it, and Central Florida
created it, and Central Florida was like, "No, we're not having any of this."
I'm like, we're not doing this. I don't even think.
UConn even made like a friggin' clock down timer to the game and everything, and UCF was like, "No."
Trying to think, Enemies Cup. Hopkins Navy is a good, because like that game, as I mentioned,
Hopkins, by the way, scores to make it a 1-goal game.
There again, it's just wide open shots late in the shot clock. Maryland's defense, McNeely says that one's on him. Maryland's defense just giving up easy looks. Maryland has the ball more than Hopkins, a little bit to a degree, but the looks Hopkins is getting are far, far better than Maryland's. Let's look here. Yes, ball just lose. Burley's he's the captain. He should be on top of it. Just loses a guy. Bad pursuit, no slide. Easy goal. every Hopkins goal has been aside from maybe one, I would say the third goal maybe.
They've been getting so many looks right in front of the cage tonight.
Yeah, they're just every look is right in front of the cage. Hopkins Navy would be a good Enemies Cup game. I was saying, I think that's a good one. I'm trying to think there was an ACC game that's
Notre Dame Syracuse could. That's chippy.
Yeah, that's one that has a little bit of
bite to it.
Yeah, some nice stuff. Merrimack Albany. What's a good I'm trying to think if there are any good. Oh my god. This is insane, man. I'm trying to think of like CAA A10 A1s. No, I don't think so.
We do need more trophy games in
100%. Though. 100%. Like, I think Syracuse should have trophy games with Cornell, Princeton.
Yeah, we got Hobart. Yeah, Cornell needs to be one. Hopkins needs a trophy. Virginia needs a trophy.
Gil asks who wins the CAA. They're all the same team. Yeah, man, I don't know. That's basically
Who's to say?
That basically tells you everything you need to know. They are all the same. They're all the same team. Towson seems to be playing. Towson or Fairfield seem to be the teams playing the best recently. So I probably would lean with that. Is Fairfield good enough to lose one game all year and get in the NCAA tournament? That's an interesting question. I think it'll probably be Towson or Fairfield. But yeah, your guess is as good as mine. A lot of these league races this year, I mean, who wins the America East? UMBC maybe seems like the more likely favorite.
Yeah.
But I still
Bryant's a 3-1. You never count out Albany in a elimination tournament, though.
Yeah. See, I'm not sure. The NEC, there's a decent chance that the team that wins the semifinal, the non-Lemoyne semifinal,
is your automatic champion. Yep.
Yeah. Like, I think Lemoyne is in. I think Lemoyne is in the NEC tournament, which would mean that literally whoever wins the other semifinal gets the AQ.
Yeah, if they make the championship, the winner of the other semifinals gets the auto bid.
So that's funny. A-Sun, you've got
A-Sun's. Jacksonville's been playing pretty good lately.
Yeah, Utah's come back.
Utah's come back from the dead
after a brutal non-con slate.
It's kind of funny. There's 3 teams with a winning conference record, and they are a combined 8-14 overall between Air Force and Utah.
All right, Mark DM'd me the Patriot League standings. So, nice, great crowd on the.
Here comes the TIFO.
Fine.
It's not that warm out. Everyone's in basketball jerseys and stuff in the crowd. It is not that warm out.
Got the students out there.
Mm.
All right, so Patriot League standings. So Colgate has Holy Cross and Navy plays Bucknell next week. So you figure Colgate will get to 4-3. The Navy plays Bucknell. The problem for Loyola is Loyola lost to Bucknell, correct?
Yeah, let me see. Loyola's wins are Navy. No, they did beat Bucknell. Loyola did beat Bucknell.
Yes, yeah, Loyola beat Bucknell. So if Navy loses to Bucknell, that could
They're not in the Patriot League tournament.
Yes, that's correct. That could do for Loyola. But yeah, the Navy will be a favorite against Bucknell. So the likelihood is Loyola needs to get a 4th win. And, of course, their 4th game is against Army, who has, I believe, clinched the Patriot League, home field in Patriot League. I think they clinched a bid. They've clinched, I think, a share, but there's still a chance of if they lose and BU wins, yeah, they could still who hosts.
We got a tie ball game in College Park.
Oh, you were ahead of me. Didn't like hearing that. This was Hopkins fans thinking this game was. I mean, I get it, but I saw a Hopkins team that won 2 games nearly beat Maryland at Homewood Field 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, so Mark with 2 important points. Lemoyne got is NEC tournament eligible, but Mercyhurst wasn't, which is weird. I guess that's what happens when Lemoyne has all those D2 titles in their case. And he also adds Army and BU have clinched their Patriot League bids. Everyone else is usual Patriot League mess. Just as a clock check, Jake, I'm now at 13:45.
Yeah, you're 10 seconds ahead of me.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind with any reactions.
All right, I'm at 13:37.
Yep, now you're matched.
All right. It's 2 more saves.
So his save count might be 18-7 now.
19.
Ooh.
But again, high to high. They beat him low. That's where he struggles. They're just not a sharp game by Maryland. Which, again, to be expected. It's Maryland Hopkins. Hopkins teams playing for their seasons, dragging Maryland into a mud fight is basically the story of this rivalry the last 15 years.
That's all right.
Yeah, you gotta. That's high to. That's stick right in the stick. High to. I mean, time and room mid-level is the easiest save in the book.
Ball on the carpet again. And they call, loose ball push on or hold on Hopkins. So Maryland retains, but
Yeah, the stick-to-stick stuff. You take them as Hopkins, the team that struggled with the transitions this year, but tonight it's been Maryland.
ball on the carpet again.
Stoba, get the ball out of your stick, dude. Come on.
Yeah, that wasted a lot of time too.
Right.
Hey, out of all the shots to go in tonight, that's the one, I guess. That's weird.
Unsettled. Again, but shot low. I'll give him that. Tight angle went the right way to go. Cam said was 2-1 the last Hopkins lead. Maybe 3-2. 2-1 or 3-2. Yeah, right angle, the right. Got to step on his man, the right. And to go high to low.
5-hole.
10 minutes left. I'm curious if Maryland can tack on another one here. Hopkins has really been grinding the shot clock down tonight. I mean, going, 10, 15 seconds. When do they change that strategy if they're behind? If they get to 2, it still feels at 2 with 7-8 minutes left, you still stick to it. But at what point does Hopkins have to press a little more quickly?
When does Hopkins go to an ill-timed 10-man ride? Based on what we've seen today.
I do not think you'll see that from either team. Great skip pass. Oh, my God. They gave him Hopkins as a backup.
Hopkins won the chase, I thought. Yeah, Hopkins will.
I'm always missing Luke.
Look at the holes on his sweatpants, man.
I'm always missing Luke Weirman, but that hadn't really been the factor tonight. Faceoff's been close, but I expected that. Callahan's had a good. Ooh, I thought Kohler was going to light him up. Callahan's had a phenomenal year for Hopkins. Honestly, All-American level season. So it's really just you got to give Hopkins credit. Their offensive game plan has really worked tonight, and Maryland's been just a little less sharp than usual in terms of their off-ball communication and their shooting. And you've got a close game because of it. I mean, I expected Hopkins to – I thought if Hopkins got behind early, they maybe could – a young team maybe could cave a little bit, but they stuck in there after being down 3. And I think that just tells you the power of this rivalry.
Knockdown
is even when great play on the ball.
Well, here's an unsettled opportunity.
Great pass. Skip pass.
There we
One
go.
more.
Boom, boom,
Area.
boom.
Tremendous. That's just perfect transition. Don't see it any better than that.
By the way, Heat beat the Hawks in overtime. So
this is
Cavs
my reaction.
Heat.
This is my reaction to the Hawks losing in the play.
At least we don't have to waste our time with the Hawks. We just get to waste our time with the Heat now.
Oh man, they posted Big Ten posted lacrosse. The Big Ten lacrosse camp posted a picture. The crowd is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Left without the ball. I still can't get over this Friendship Cup thing.
Friendship Cup.
I didn't
Four
know this.
friends went to Sewanaka High School, and they decided, let's make a trophy. Look, I got friends who went to a lot of rival schools of Syracuse. Should I make a
Yeah, why not?
Friendship Cup?
You, me, and there we go. The Maryland, Hopkins, Syracuse series that they all play. Whoever has the best record in that between those three games gets the Cross Commission Cup. So in those games, whoever gets big stop Mac, best of the night for him. Whoever wins the best cumulative record in the games played between Maryland, Hopkins, because now Maryland plays Syracuse every year, so this works perfectly. Whoever has the best cumulative record, we can do it like the command. What is it? The Commander's Trophy. All right, so this is where I think you wonder. Now we're coming up 6.5 minutes to go. If Maryland scores here, Hopkins has to go. They got to be pushing on every rest offense possession. Even if they don't, I think you're down to, considering how long this possession is likely to take, you only have one more possession that you can kind of milk down, I would say, unless you score right away on the next one. But that's my gut. Great shot fake by Keegan. Oh, my gosh, you got to get that pass, Ursa. You got to get that pass. We'll write that down. 550, Ursa standing with no one near him. If that transition connects, it's a wide open shot to maybe go up 3. This has been fun. I've had fun tonight, Ryan. You had fun?
Yes, I had fun.
If the people watching this video have had fun, what should they do?
They should hit that. They should smash that like button and hit the subscribe button as well.
Indeed. Ooh, trail check. Yeah, Maryland's defense starting to. I think you are seeing Hopkins push it a little. They're kind of dodging a little more in the interior instead of waiting for the passing lanes.
And now they're taking a lot of time up. I'll give the ball away there, but they are milking the clock a bit. So Maryland just tweeted out 10,123.
Beautiful. Beautiful number. It would have been Saturday night, man. This could have been.
So that's second largest attendance of the year behind QSND, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the box office stretch of the year.
Oh, what'd they call?
Yeah, they didn't give him the timeout. Yeah, it's one. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I have it on mute, so. Offsides, they called.
Offsides.
3 shots, 6 turnovers. That is not a way to mount a comeback.
Man, Maryland's been like a half beat off offensively all night. Like you can see them trying to draw the side, and then hit the next man, and then maybe do the one more. And it just hasn't quite been there the way it would normally for this offense. Everything's a bit, the transfers, everything's been a beat off, and I think Angelina's obviously been great for Hopkins, and that's kind of why Hopkins has stayed in this thing. Oh,
that'll do it though. That might be the dagger.
Scorcher. Whittier, man. What does Zach Whittier shoot like that? Yeah, at this point, 3 goals, 3 minutes. Just felt like, Hopkins. I think they needed to get the lead. I think they needed to play with a lead, be able to milk that clock down. Instead, the turnover bug has really bit them at the wrong time, and Maryland's played their best chunk of game in this last 5 minutes or so. Yeah, man, Whittier stick a corner.
All right. So after this game's done, stick around. We're going to have our Stanley Cup playoff preview. Thanks, BTN, for reminding me I don't get Gary, Keith, and Ron tomorrow. I got to watch Fox for Cardinals Mets. It's not going to be the Davis team. Womp, womp, womp. So Gil says should be short to the segment. Caps Cup champs.
Damn right, Gil. Damn right.
Mark asks, who won the Frozen Four? Western Michigan. So in usual college, the best part is with college hockey is the college hockey media fixates themselves on Massachusetts schools and like Michigan and Penn State, and that's it. Every narrative of the season is them basically openly rooting for the following schools: BU, BC, UMass, Michigan, and Penn State. That's college hockey media. Maybe Harvard.
Feels like now this granted, this could just be because the most college hockey coverage I see comes from our good friend Marissa and Jemmy. Shout out Marissa.
Shout out Marissa.
Ryan Lambert.
Marissa's fine. I
love Marissa. I'm just saying,
it's not her.
The college hockey coverage I see usually comes from Marissa,
Lambert, Colby Cohen,
a couple other
Johnny Lazarus,
and Marissa went to BU.
Yeah, Marissa went to BU.
Lambert is from Boston, and so
Lazarus.
I think in general, and look, to be fair, oh man, that's the one Hopkins has been hitting all night. The Beanpot tournament, and all those schools in that area care so much, so it gets a lot of attention. Again, I also just think the media kind of most of it is look, it's hockey media in the U.S. does tend to come from the Northeast.
And then Michigan has all the NHL prospects, and Penn State's the only really large school to invest into hockey in the past 25 years.
All right, Navy fell to 29th in RPI after the loss. Loyola went from 62nd to 57. 62 to 57.
All right, so it only went up 5?
Yeah, that tells you. Maryland, we'll do this. I'll tell you Maryland's change in RPI, and then Ryan, we can get started on some hockey.
Well, just one other point with the college hockey. So the hilarious thing, and you also have Busher Gross always pushes the Northeast and Penn State, Michigan narrative. And it's always funny because it's the NCHC that always wins. Every year it's everyone saying Hockey East is the greatest conference ever. Oh, and Blackburn also talks a lot of college hockey, but again, Massachusetts.
Yeah. All right. RPI, Maryland stays at 2. Maryland with this win will lock up the bye in the Big Ten. So Maryland will be the 2. The winner of Ohio State, Michigan is the 1. And then I think I can get you the other. I will work on that. Ryan, start talking hockey.
But first...
This kitchen is so hard to clean. If only there was an easier way.
This sink is filthy. Hi, I'm Derek Bum. This greasy hob. New kitchen gun. Grubby tiles. Goodbye, gun. Rusty tack. All clean again.
Lindor, walk-off dinger, by the way. Mark also just wants to add it's Ohio State, Michigan winner, Maryland, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan loser, Rutgers, and winless in the Big Ten, Johns Hopkins.
It's if Ohio State wins, it's Ohio State, Maryland, Penn State, Michigan, Rutgers, Hopkins. So you'd have Penn State, Hopkins at Panzer, Michigan, Rutgers at UM. If Michigan beats Ohio State, it's Michigan, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers, Hopkins. So the big difference is if Ohio State wins, Penn State is the 3, Michigan is the 4. If Michigan wins, Ohio State is the 3, and Penn State is the 4. Just changes the matchups.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Brian, what are you excited for with the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I'm excited that it's kind of wide open this go around. I know we've had we've seen a bit of more of a trend of the best teams showing up, and it kind of trending back to kind of other sports, but but this year's it doesn't feel like there's one team running away with it. So I'm
looking at it right now. See, if Michigan beats Ohio State, yeah, get that crab. If Michigan beats Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State are all 3-2. And Penn State has the worst record within that group. I'm almost certain that would do it. That would knock Penn State down to 4. If Ohio State wins, Penn State, I think Penn State will be the 3. Yeah, first tiebreaker, I believe, is the records of all teams compared to one another. So I think that's my guess. I'm looking forward. Yeah, I think the game should be really good. By the way, guys, while we do this, look, we still cover lacrosse. If you guys got any questions you want to throw our way, look, we're here hanging out. If you got any cross questions,
we're more than cool with going back to lacrosse. If you have any questions or anything,
questions you got, we'll van. This is just, we're podcasting here. What the games I think should be good. The playoffs have had a great quality the last couple of years. It's a good mix, more offensively, but also things get more tightened in the playoffs. Goal scoring has been down this year, though, which maybe something. But yeah, I don't think there's the best teams recently. I mean, you got Florida, who's had a long playoff run. They've played a lot of games the last 2 years. Tampa is still kind of on the older end, so Vegas kind of looks back maybe to their best, but could have a tough second round matchup with Edmonton. Colorado and Dallas, I mean, that's first round. That you could argue that's the two favorites in the West, and they're playing the first round. And our Marylanders
Blues have very 2019.
Our Marylanders Yankees. I mean, Mark, you live in Georgia. I think if you live in Georgia, anybody above the Mason-Dixon line's a Yankee. Now, I would take offense to being called a Yankee just because, Yankees. But even though I know that's not, kind of where the term comes from. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, you've got the teams with the best records in the regular season are Winnipeg and Washington, who haven't. Winnipeg hasn't. Maryland is below the Mason-Dixon line. Fair, yeah. So, they're kind of like
above the Union Confederate line.
It was on the. Yeah, I mean, there were borders to see, So I don't know. I think they probably will qualify. Virginia, Maryland, there's a big difference there. Just compare going to Charlottesville or going to College Park. Virginia is basically like Ole Miss but north.
Yeah.
So yeah, Winnipeg. When was the last time Winnipeg won a playoff series? I think they won one of the bubble.
I don't think it's since 2018, I think, when they made the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, that or they might have won one in the bubble. And then Washington hasn't won a playoff series since they won the Cup. So, yeah, it should be wide open.
Won the bubble, did they?
I think they won one in the bubble and then they lost to Montreal.
I'm saying Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think they lost in that second round to Montreal. So.
Yeah, the 2021 one. Yes, they beat Edmonton, so then lost.
It's wide open. I think you've got a good mix of kind of some of these surprise teams like Winnipeg, Washington, obviously a huge surprise, and more power established.
You got up and coming teams like Ottawa, Montreal.
Yes, 100%. Some rivalries in the first round.
I mean,
Ottawa.
That Atlantic is just primo. Battle of Ontario, Battle of Florida. All right, so let's do our sauce rankings before we go. Before we dole out some predictions.
You do yours first because I'm sending a tweet.
Okay. I don't know why it's at exit mode. Let me see.
I still can't get over the fact that Ohio State or Michigan is going to win the Big Ten. It just blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of sauce rankings at the bottom, actually, you had your list already, right?
Yeah. You can go first.
You go.
All
right, I got to just write them down real quick.
Okay.
Which has the sauce, which doesn't. At the bottom.
All right, I got mine if you want me to go. All right.
Yeah, you can go first.
Los Angeles, Edmonton at the bottom. I've seen it. I know how it ends. Carolina, New Jersey, 7. New Jersey without Jack Hughes is just not happening. Winnipeg, St. Louis. I don't know. I just don't care for either of these teams, really. I think it could be a good series, though. Vegas, Minnesota, 5. Maybe you could swap that, honestly. There's a big drop-off here from 4 to 8. Probably would swap Winnipeg, St. Louis, 5, Vegas, Minnesota, 6. I feel like I had a reason of having Vegas, Minnesota, 5 that was funny, but now I'm completely blanking on it. 4th, Washington, Montreal. It's just there's obviously the whole 2010 deal there. Playoff games at the Bell Center are always. This is the first actual genuine playoff games at the Bell Center since 2017, something like that. Because remember the bubble, they didn't
with fans, yeah.
With fans. So it was true playoff hockey at the Bell Center in a long, long time. Tampa, Florida 3, powerhouse stuff. The last time someone who wasn't these two teams represented the East in the Cup final was Boston. So in 2019, pre-COVID, the before times. gives you an idea. Two great teams. Either anyone could win the cup. Toronto, Ottawa. It's a rivalry. You've got Ottawa basically has become what Toronto was like 10 years ago, with the young kids in their first playoff run. Toronto's finally won the Atlantic and finally avoided playing Tampa or Florida or Boston in the first round. So we'll see how it goes for them. And then Dallas, Colorado. Just heavyweight stuff. Granted, Dallas potentially losing Jason Robertson is bad. But nonetheless, it's two teams. It's two of the 5 best teams in the league, probably. Dallas has been to the conference final like every year for the last 3 or 4 years. Colorado won the cup. Colorado feels like they've reloaded for another run. So, yeah.
All right, source rankings: 8th, Vegas, Minnesota.
Fair.
It's the Wild. What's funny with the Wild is they look like they finally had some sauce at the beginning of the year. Then they went back after injuries to being the Minnesota Wild. I know they got Flower, but they're sauceless. 7, Carolina, New Jersey. Come on, the world's most online sports franchise versus a team that's lost all their good players due to injury. Not really feeling that. 6, LA, Edmonton. I've seen it a ton already. Might have a different flavor this time around, but it's like, I don't know. They meet each other every year, and it still hasn't really conjured up anything that makes me hype for it like the first go-round. 5, Winnipeg, St. Louis. There's definitely an upset factor that could be at play there, so that could make it interesting. 4, Washington, Montreal. As you said, only because the memories of 2010, they're going to pop that up all the time, and you got the atmosphere at Bell Center. 3, Battle of Florida. It's happened a lot recently, so the novelty's a little bit gone, but it's still a great rivalry, and, you know, 2 teams that have been making the finals every year. 2, Battle of Ontario. I think that's a very fascinating, you know, in terms of a psyche type series beyond just the big rivalry, because you have a team that has not had much success in the first round going up against a team that in their heyday couldn't get past their big rival. It was always their big roadblock in those years. And then 1, as you said, Dallas, Colorado. That's a Western Conference final quality matchup in the first round. So good stuff.
All right. I'm not gonna, it's 10 o'clock. I'm not gonna belabor the not sure. Again, guys, if you got any lacrosse questions, please throw them at us. We've been going 2.5 hours. Love it. I think in the West, I'll start in the West. I'm going Colorado over Dallas. I think that they have Colorado, since they got Mackenzie Blackwood, feels like they've solved their biggest hole. They also the Natchez trade with Rantanen. I mean, look, Rantanen is fantastic himself, but Natchez really clicked with McKinnon pretty much just as well as Rantanen did. So I think they're good there. Dallas losing Jason Robertson. Part of me does want to pick still in Dallas because Peter DeBoer, and when he makes the playoffs, basically makes the conference final like every year. I think he's lost in the first round like 1 time, maybe twice. Twice. I think he's only 2 times he not made a conference final. But I'm still going to go Colorado. Winnipeg, St. Louis, I'll go Winnipeg. Playoff, Winnipeg always has great crowds. I think St. Louis is on a great run, but I don't think they're like cup winning good. So I'll go with the Jets. But I think it's a longer series. Vegas, Minnesota. Vegas handles that one pretty comfortably. And then Edmonton, LA. It is home for the Kings this time, so maybe that's a bit different. But nonetheless, I'm still going Edmonton in 5 or 6. First round out east, Toronto, Ottawa. Man, I really want to pick Ottawa. I think these are 2 very evenly matched teams. Toronto's not as good as I think it's been in the past, but they also have an easier draw, so maybe that helps them. I want to lean Ottawa. I think they're 2 really close teams. I think Ottawa's got the juice. If they can figure out the playoffs pretty quickly, that could be good. But it's close, so I defer to the law of Battle of Ontario series, which means that the Leafs win in 7. Tampa, Florida, 7 games, great series. I think Florida's just a little bit better. Granted, it is a series where, look, I love Bob, but Bob can be you never know what you're going to get with Bob. whereas Tampa's got Vasilevsky. So, but I'll go Florida. Washington, Montreal. I don't really think. Look, good story from Montreal. The wild card teams here were not good.
That's the thing. Like the Habs are a fun story, but that playoff race was just a battle of who wants it.
Yeah, the only team who I could have seen giving a problem was maybe the Rangers because they have Shesterkin, but also their vibes are just so rotten that I feel like they would have packed it up and gone out for. So I think
maybe Columbus. Yeah.
Washington does have a question in terms of goalie, maybe. Like Logan Thompson has been hurt for a bit. I think he's going to be back, though. They do have Charlie Lindgren, a backup, who's good as well. But Thompson was the big key for them. Protas is also hurt as well. So Washington does have some injuries. But I don't know. I either think Washington, I think, has just been itching to play. Like, Washington hasn't played games that matter for like 3 weeks. And you could maybe say, does that give them like a slower? I don't know. I think they're kind of itching to just get back into big games. So I think Washington wins that one. And Carolina, New Jersey, I think this will be interesting if Jack Hughes is playing for New Jersey, but he's not. So, yeah. And then I'll let you go, and then I'll just do my final prediction.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying we'll start out west. I think the Blues pull off the upset. I don't think they're good enough to win the cup like in 2019, but they just got the juice right now, and Winnipeg has that first round block the past couple of years. They've had home ice in the first round for quite a few of those series too. So I think St. Louis pulls off the upset in 6. I got Colorado in 7 over Dallas. I think the Robertson injury is going to hurt Dallas, and I'll go with Colorado with that. I think just Colorado's leveled up way too much from the trade deadline. I got Vegas sweeping Minnesota. I don't see Minnesota.
I never pick sweeps. I just can't do it. But yeah, if I was to pick one, it's Carolina, New Jersey, or Vegas, Minnesota.
Yeah,
I don't know why I had Vegas Minnesota 5 on the sauce. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, I've got the Kings beating the Oilers for once, and I'm only basing that on one. The Oilers haven't looked right all year. I know a lot of that's because both McDavid and Draisaitl have been hurt at various points of the year, but something feels a little bit off with the Oilers. That and the Kings can't lose at home. So I think the Kings at home is going to play a big role with that, and that home ice will play a big role with that. So I got the Kings there. I got Leafs in 7. I think the Sens are going to give them a hard time, but in the end, when it's, as you said, Battle of Ontario, you default to Leafs in 7 over the Sens. But Sens are primed for the future pretty nicely. I got Panthers in 6. I know they got a lot of mileage on them, but especially if they get Tkachuk back, that's a team that could win in the postseason. And you saw it last year when they sealed the deal. And I think the mileage thing, you saw with the Lightning. They were in 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. The mileage doesn't really matter too much in this day and age. So I think I like Florida in 6. Again, it depends on what Bobrovsky shows up. But
one thing I will say with the mileage that Tampa had, that first playoff run, they didn't actually have to travel.
Yeah.
Like just being in the bubble.
They just had the one flight from Toronto to Edmonton when it became the conference finals.
Yeah, so they didn't even have to travel. So that's one thing that I will say. I agree with you. Like our predictions are pretty similar, but that is one thing that I will note.
I got Caps in 6 over the Habs. I think Habs, that year early in their development, they're going to be fun to watch for years to come, but I think the Caps have enough to win that. Canes in 5 over the Devils. I don't see the Devils really making much of a dent with all their injuries. I'll tell you my conference finals. I got Avs over Kings. Again, I have the Kings beating the Golden Knights because, again, the Kings have been unstoppable in LA. Especially after the fires. They've just been unstoppable at Staples Center. And then I got the Panthers over the Hurricanes in the East. I'm basing that because Carolina's been a very bad matchup for the Caps in recent years. So I'm going to stick with that, but I'll stick to the trend of Carolina not doing anything in the conference final. So I'll go with the Panthers getting out of the East.
I'm going to go Colorado and Vegas in the West final. I think that'd be an awesome series. Vegas has kind of Colorado's number a little bit, some of these playoffs. But I don't know. I just think, again, Colorado, I think they solved it with the goalie with Black. But that's been their problem the last couple of years, and they feel like they're humming. I'm going to go Washington. And what was your East final you said again?
I had Florida over Carolina.
Okay. I'm going to go Florida and Washington. I think Florida's just too good in that top half. I could see Carolina. I could see Carolina giving Washington trouble, just with their how good they are on the forecheck, things like that. But man, I ain't picking Carolina to beat the Caps in the playoffs series. Get out of here. And I don't know, Carolina with Freddie Anderson, that smells sus. So I'll take the Caps. I'd love to say the Caps go to the Cup final. I mean, it would be honestly one of the all-time storybook seasons if the Caps won the Cup and the Ovechkin broke the record. And I do think this team will have runs. I think they're set up well even after Ovi retires. But I just can't see them getting past Florida. Maybe if Florida really just the tank runs out, I just think Florida's a little too much. Down the lineup. And I will say we both got Colorado, Florida. I'll take Colorado. I think this is maybe where you look. Colorado faced the Florida team going for their third straight Cup final when they won it. I think kind of holds true again. But I think this would be an electric final. Tkachuk, McKinnon, all those Florida guys, through their lineup. This would be probably maybe not just as good. It has potential to be just as good as last year's. And last year's was the best Cup final in, 20-something years since those Red Wings Penguin series. So it could 100% be just as good. Mark's got a question. From the day you said no one was going to win out, we should research that. Army and Richmond were the two I immediately thought had a good chance when you said it. Richmond plays UMass this weekend, and then they play St. Joe's. Richmond, I think, do they get St. Joe's at home?
Let me check. So which team?
Does Richmond play St. Joe's at home? Because I'm pretty sure they play UMass at home. No, so they're home against UMass and they're at St. Joe's.
Yeah.
I think that Richmond drops one of those two games. Honestly, if you told me St. Joe's beat them in the A10 championship, I wouldn't be shocked by that either. So I think Richmond drops one of these next two, is my gut. But could they win out? They could. Army's the one you got to look at in terms of being able to win out because they have Bucknell and Loyola at home. Feels like those are two wins. And then the Patriot League, from there, it's the Patriot League tournament. So certainly watching Army. I will say, again, you just got to watch. April Army is a different story than February and March Army. So far, it's going well. The Colgate win was great, beating down on them after the Carolina game. And the Army-Navy game is that was a gutty victory. So I could see Army winning out. I mean, I guess we got to wonder, are they going to run to BU again in that Patriot League tournament? Because that's been the boogeyman for them. Ironically enough, I think me and Safe and Mark talked about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Army losing to BU in the Patriot League tournament. I mean, if it's the semifinal and not the final, maybe not. But Army losing to BU in the Patriot League tournament is probably the best case scenario in terms of they're at large because it keeps BU in the top 20 in RPI.
Mm-hmm.
It basically means BU isn't a bad. Army needs – if they're going to lose to anybody, you probably want it to be BU again. Because anybody else probably would be a bad loss. At this point, Colgate is 22nd, so maybe Colgate could get in the top 20. They would definitely need to win out the rest of the way. Lehigh's 25th, so maybe there. BU's hanging on. BU is 19th in RPI at the moment. I don't think timing matters. I don't necessarily think it does. I don't think it's going to change their resume materially, but I don't know. Like, what do you think? It feels like an Army team that loses in the Patriot League in terms of, I know that it doesn't change their resume, but look, I think Army needs all the help they can get in terms of their case. I'm just thinking of, look, if they got to be compared to an ACC team, look, you remember back to 2021 when they beat Cuse and then they were left out for Cuse. It feels like the story and the maybe eye test, whatever you want for Army, looks better if they lose a close game in the Patriot League tournament, a championship game, rather than the semifinal. If like the last imprint for Army is also because remember, the Patriot League semifinal is on Sunday, isn't it?
Yes.
So if the committee's doing most of their kind of work on Friday and Saturday, and they have Army as a win in the back pocket, Army is picks up a win, and then it's a matter of Army versus, the Army is like on Sunday they make that last switch, put BU in the AQ or somebody else, and not Army. I don't know. I think it helps a little more if they just played a 1-goal game in like the last game before they select the bracket. If that's the last thing on people's mind for Army, I think that helps a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what you think. I just think it maybe helps a little bit more if that's the last thing last thing the committee remembers is Army losing in the semi-final as opposed to semi-final. I could be wrong. I'm just, that's kind of my gut. When Ron gets back, we'll see what he thinks. Yeah, what do you think? Do you think it matters?
It might. I mean, it's going to depend on, I guess, what it shakes out with the Ivy League tournament vis-a-vis again with what's Yale doing.
I mean, I think either way, they're going to be either way, if they lose, they're going to be the team that immediately gets compared to whoever the last team is in. Because the Ivy League, you figure the Ivy League probably has 3 at-larges, or 2 at-larges, rather.
Yeah, and
the Ivy League has 3 teams in there. If kind of set there. I mean, I guess because it's going to be Harvard from the Ivy who is the team in question.
Yeah.
Because Cornell and Princeton are getting in. So if it's like Harvard versus Army versus Duke, I think Army's still in that conversation.
Yeah. Again, going to depend on what Duke does these next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 3 weeks, rather.
But
I think that's the question that I would say bookmark it and get back to me maybe tomorrow night's stream.
That's possible. You want to turn your camera off? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just
you can turn your camera off if you want.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. I think it probably, maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. But I just think as many wins as Army can get, I think helps them. Mm-hmm. If they can get to 13 wins instead of 12, I don't know. I think it helps. Maybe I could be wrong. But I think as many wins as they can get helps them down the stretch. That's
yeah. Also, just go back to hockey. I'm also picking Avalanche over Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. So Jake and I have the same NBA Finals, different result, and the same Stanley Cup Final, same result.
We'll see what we do with the. We already picked the same team to win the tournament before the season. We both picked Cornell.
And I would say suffice to say that nothing that's really been going on this season has changed that up that much.
No, I still honestly I might, man of my word, I might stick with Cornell. They'd be in my Final Four prediction for sure.
All right. Any other final questions before we wrap things up?
Yeah, we'll get out of here. Yeah, tomorrow, probably 6 p.m. for the Power Hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jake and Safe will definitely be there. I'm hoping to be there. We're going to see my brother's coming in from Queens, so we'll see what time he's coming by or not, and what time our family's having dinner. So I'll try to make it. We'll definitely have it going this week, though. I could put on the camera again. There we go. So 6 p.m. Power Hour. Very interesting day tomorrow. Cornell, Harvard, Duke, Syracuse, Notre Dame, North Carolina,
Michigan, Ohio State. That kind of messed up the Power Hour time because that game is on at 4. So basically, we'll go as soon as that game ends. We'll go live. Probably is the game plan. If look, Hopkins, Maryland finished in under 2 hours tonight. Big Ten game finished in under 2 hours.
Both Big Ten games finished under 2 hours.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a repeat. So whenever that game goes, we'll go. Yeah, we'll have Power Hour. Power Hour this Saturday. Podcast again, being safe next week. Probably try to have Mark back on for bracketology. We'll do a Power Hour again on next Saturday, which is end of the regular season plus Big Ten quarterfinals. And then I think we might do another one of these live shows for the Friday night conference. Because that Friday night is what? That's Ivy League, ACC?
It's Ivy Patriot, and I think it's ACC too.
Yeah, Ivy Patriot and ACC are that Friday. So we'll probably do another one of these watch-alongs.
In 2 weeks' time.
In 2 weeks' time before. And then, of course, live for Selection Sunday. For the live show. So we'll be there Selection Sunday.
All right. And if you liked all that we did tonight with this watch along, smash that like button. If you also are excited about the prospect of our Power Hour tomorrow, hit that subscribe button. Mark just said Ivy League, Patriot League, ACC, and A-Sun.
I think the A-Sun is early. I think the A-Sun is earlier Friday.
A-Sun's earlier though. I think they're in the afternoon. And turn on your notifications to know when we go live. So hit that bell button too. Before we go, WrestleMania predictions.
I think The Rock will be there.
Even though I feel like it was like a big build to it after Cena turned heel, and then everything's been fizzling out, it feels like.
Yeah, it's not been last year. Their PR week has been, let's say, less than stellar. So, yeah, I think Rock will be there. That's my main prediction. So, yeah, smash the like button. Unless you already smashed it earlier, in which case don't smash it because that would undo
Don't smash it because then it'll unlike it.
Yes, just odd numbers. All right. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, stay hydrated out there.
Enjoy this outro video. Becky looks present. Oh, do I have it? No? Oh, I thought you had it.
It should be under media assets.
There we go. All right. No, I can't get it. Oh, here we go. I got it. All right.
Ford, Honda, Chevy, Beamers, and minivans, over 600 cars, trucks, SUVs. Are you listening, man? Let Eastern Motors put you in a car today. Let Eastern Motors finance it all the way.